Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Code Clarity podcast. I'm Rena.
And I'm Jean. So today, Rena, I wanted to talk to you about a fairly recent case about medical education, and it might actually change the way that the UK does medical education.
Interesting. So going back a few steps, as a little reminder to everybody, under the UK's ABPI code, there is no definition of what medical education is. But the people that enforce the code, the PMCPA, they have always considered that if medical education talks about medicine, then it's promotional. But the rest of Europe have always allowed mention of medicine in med ed, which is what we kind of abbreviate it to. So, Jean, tell us about this case and what exactly it was about.
So this was a case against AstraZeneca. They had a recorded webinar on one of their medical HCP websites, and it was talking about, I think the actual webinar itself was only about 20 minutes long. So, and it was talking about disease and treatment pathways, but as part of that discussion, they twice mentioned a class of drugs of which AstraZeneca has a medicine within that class.
Okay.
Now, as we know previously, the panel has always said, oh, if you mention a class of drugs and you've got a medicine within that class, then you are promoting the medicine of that class. So this is what the complainant complained about.
So they were saying it should have been classed as a promotional webinar and then had links to prescribing information, blah, blah, blah. Yes?
Exactly. Okay.
And
it didn't have that. So it was fairly obvious that they hadn't classed it as promotional.
Okay. So what was the ruling then?
So the ruling was actually, given previous rulings, you kind of think, oh, well, yes, definitely, this is good. However, AstraZeneca did a very strong response saying, no, this is medical education. It's only mentioned twice. It's mentioned in the context of the treatment pathway. So we mention lots of other different classes of medicine as well. We don't put any emphasis on this class. So we're not sort of, recommending this class. We're just giving it as an option as well as lots of other ones. There's more than us that have a medicine in this class, that old one that people have used before to try and defend themselves. There's more than us that have a medicine in this class. So therefore, it is medical education.
Okay, so in terms of your advice going forwards, because are you saying that we can all run away and talk about medicine in our med ed and it's somehow not promotional? Because obviously that's what the panel said.
I think that would be quite a bold take from this case.
Okay.
So there's two things there. First of all, obviously they were talking about classes of medicine, not just medicine. So it was very clear that they weren't promoting any one particular medicine. It was within the context of lots of other options. So there was no emphasis on a particular class. And also, obviously, panel rulings aren't necessarily precedent setting. It's usually appealed when the appeal board get involved and the appeal board give a ruling. That's when you kind of got a little bit more confidence that this is a precedent.
Yeah, and that's an important point because I think there was a recent case, Beijing versus Janssen, which did involve the appeal board, and the appeal board had a perfect opportunity to sort of really be very clear to the industry about med ed, and yet they completely failed to do so. So that's a shame.
Yes, I think there's signs of hope, I would say, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Keep fingers crossed, everybody. Thanks, Jean.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.